What's going on, guys? Today we are going to talk about pastries. Many years ago, when I was starting out my culinary journey, I had the opportunity to work pastry. Young and thirsty for culinary knowledge, I took the job working pastries. I hated it at first. I did not like it at all. To me, it was really boring and I couldn't get into it. But after working for a while, messing up many times, I came to love it. I'm so glad that I had that experience. I got to learn from some really talented people. I used to start my mornings off every day by making bombolonis. These beautiful Italian donuts, 3 different ways. It became part of my morning routine, waking up at 4 in the morning, rolling out donuts, frying them off, and I learned to love it. I thought I would show you guys how I used to start my mornings every single day making these bombolonis. So let's get into it. For this recipe, we're gonna need eggs and egg yolks separated. So, and get cracking on these guys. So for me, I know a lot of people like to separate egg yolks using the egg back and forth method. I like to crack all of my eggs in one bowl and use my hand to transfer the egg yolks from one bowl into the other. These egg whites you can save for another recipe. We've got our dry active yeast. We're just gonna bloom this in some warm water. Got all the ingredients prepped and ready to go. All-purpose flour, some bread flour, butter, whole eggs, egg yolks, our bloomed yeast and water, some sugar. We've got our mixing bowl. Go in with all of our dry ingredients. Nice heavy pinch of salt. Grab our stand mixers. Use our dough hook attachment. We're gonna mix this guy up first before we start adding our wet ingredients. In with our eggs, our yeast mixture, and vanilla extract. We're gonna use our trusty spatula to scrape down the sides. Once the dough's come together, start adding our softened butter, 1 cube at a time. So after all of our butter is incorporated, we're gonna scrape the dough off of the hook. Should be pretty sticky, nice brioche dough. So we're gonna cover this for 2 hours and let it rest at room temperature while it proofs. So while our bomboloni dough is rising in the back, we're gonna get started on making some pastry cream. Some butter, a vanilla bean pod, egg yolks, love a nice orange yolk, a bit of cornstarch, some whole milk, and some salt. For our vanilla bean pod, what we're gonna do is we're gonna slice this guy in half, run down the center, add that right to our milk, the pod too. My egg yolks that I'm gonna go into this bowl, cornstarch, and whisk these guys up. To this we'll also add our sugar. My milk and vanilla. Bring this up to a simmer. Now our milk is nice and steamy hot. I'm gonna take a ladle of our warm milk mixture, incorporate it into the egg yolk mixture, tempering the egg yolks, so that way when we add these egg yolks back into here, we don't have scrambled eggs. This transfer, I'm gonna make sure that I use a fine mesh strainer as well. Any clumps formed in here of either egg or cornstarch, we wanna make sure that that doesn't get into our main mixture. Now we can raise the temperature on this guy slowly to activate our cornstarch. At this point, I'm gonna switch to a spatula, nice thick pastry cream. I'm just gonna take out my vanilla bean pods. And while the pastry cream is still warm, I'm gonna transfer it into my little food processor. By blending up our pastry cream, it's gonna make sure it's extra smooth. I'm also gonna add in my 2 tablespoons of butter. I'm gonna blend in that butter and emulsify it. Now I'm gonna separate half of my pastry cream. The half we left in the blender is gonna get a little Nutella. Then we blend it up again. Just gonna scrape down these sides. Transfer this into a container to cool. For our last and final filling, make some raspberry jelly. Jam? Jelly? I don't think I know what the difference is. Wait. And for that, we are going to need cornstarch slurry. I've got some cornstarch right here, enough cold water in till it forms a paste. And remember, cornstarch dissolves in cold water. Raspberries, our sugar, this is looking good. I tasted it to make sure the sugar's good. Cornstarch slurry into there. You have to bring it up to a boil to activate the cornstarch. I killed the heat on this guy. I'm gonna add a little lemon zest, a squeeze of fresh lemon juice. Now I'll set this guy aside to cool. I'm sorry, that was dramatic. It has been 2 hours and our dough has risen nicely. Punch this guy down. Before we start rolling out our dough, I'm gonna prepare a little landing surface for it. Sheet tray, we've got some parchment paper. A little trick to get it to stick. If this worked, that'd be great. Gonna give it a little spritz of water to help my parchment paper stick. I've got my dough, just some extra flour for when I'm rolling out my dough. A little light dusting of flour down. At this point, there are two ways that we can do this. We can roll this dough out and then cut little circular discs out of it. For me, what I like to do is I like to separate these guys into 60-gram balls, roll them out like you would a dinner roll. I've got my scale here. My dough separated into 60-gram balls. We're gonna roll these out. The inside of your thumb and your palm to roll these into a perfect ball is you're using the pressure of your thumb to seal the bottom. Is a beautiful little dough ball with the bottom sealed. Then onto our oiled baking sheet to rise again. I used to be able to do two at once. Let's see if I can do it. And absolutely not. Oh, actually it's not bad. So now we have all of these guys rolled out, oiled sheet tray, and I'm gonna cover them with a towel once more and let these guys proof for an hour. So now we have our setup for frying. We have our burner, we have a sheet tray with a wire rack on it for landing our donuts, and we've got a spider right here. I've got my pot for frying, and I have a thermometer to test the temperature of the oil. Whenever we're frying things like this, we're gonna need some oil. A neutral oil works well. I'm gonna be using grapeseed oil. It's my favorite neutral oil to fry things in. So we've got our oil up to temp. We're gonna take our donuts off the tray, lifting them as gently as we can, and plopping them right in the oil. We're gonna fry these guys for about 2 to 3 minutes each side. Now that I've finished off frying off all my donuts, I'm gonna let these guys cool down to room temperature. So to finish off our donuts, we have some regular sugar and 2 cups of powdered sugar. To one of these cups of powdered sugar, I'm gonna add just a little bit of cocoa powder, and I'm gonna whisk it up to combine. All right guys, we have all of our donuts fried and cooled off. What you're gonna need is a little stick, or optionally what you can do is use the end of the thermometer. That's what I've done in the past. Is we're gonna poke a little hole right in this guy, and then we're gonna hollow out the inside. What I have is a nice hollow inside and a hole big enough to add your filling into. Now I've got all 3 of my fillings to go. I wonder if you can tell which one that I like the most. I'll give you a hint. This is the point where I would normally fill up pastry bags with the fillings, so I do not have any pastry bags. We are going into these plastic baggies. So I'll just take a cup, place it in, wrap it right around the outside, and go in with our filling. Got all my fillings ready to go. I'm just gonna snip the corner of the bag, just enough that I can fit it inside the donut. Take the corner of the piping bag, put it into the donut, squeeze it in until you start to feel some resistance, push it out. The raspberry is my favorite, but what I like to do sometimes too, half raspberry, half pastry cream. Pastry cream gets powdered sugar. Our Nutella gets powdered sugar mixed with cocoa powder. Raspberry gets dunked into some sugar. Bombolonis, 3 ways. Nutella, pastry cream, and raspberry. All right guys, so we did it. Bombolonis 3 different ways, and yeah, they're amazing. I love them. The raspberry, top notch. Honestly, the raspberry pastry cream combo, also super amazing. But that being said, go out there guys, make some of these donuts. You will not regret it. I love them. Even if you don't want to make the whole 3 version of them, just make one of them. They're fun, they're delicious. Go make some donuts guys. Action shot.